You think you can just walk into my throne room and make demands? The Alpha King's voice cuts through the grand hall like a blade, each word dripping with lethal authority. His amber eyes blaze with fury as he rises from his seat, and even from across the vast chamber, Celeste can feel the raw power radiating from his massive frame. She forces herself to stand tall despite her trembling legs, despite the dozens of pack members watching from the shadows with hungry, judgmental eyes. "I'm not making demands, Your Majesty. I'm offering you a solution." A cruel laugh echoes from somewhere in the darkness. Then another. The council members emerge from the pillars lining the throne room, their expressions ranging from amused to disgusted. "The half-breed speaks," Elder Morgan sneers, her silver hair gleaming in the torchlight. "As if anything from your tainted bloodline could solve the curse that's been placed upon our king." Celeste's fingers curl into fists at her sides. Half-breed. That word has followed her for 26 years, whispered behind hands, spat like poison. Her mother was human, her father a wolf. A union that should never have been, according to pack law. When they both died in the border skirmishes 5 years ago, she became even less than nothing. A servant in the castle where she was born, invisible to everyone except when they needed someone to blame. But she won't be invisible today. Not when she holds the only answer to saving the Shadowmere pack from destruction. King Dane Wulfric descends the stone steps of his throne with predatory grace, each movement showcasing the deadly power coiled in his muscular body. He's devastatingly handsome in the way a storm is beautiful, dangerous, untamed, impossible to look away from. His dark hair falls in tousled waves that brush his broad shoulders, and the formal black tunic he wears does nothing to hide the extraordinary build beneath. The fabric strains against his heavily muscled chest and arms, revealing the physique of a warrior who's spent decades perfecting the art of combat. His jawline is so sharply defined it could cut glass, and those piercing amber eyes seem to see straight through every defense she's carefully constructed. "You dare speak of solutions?" He's closer now, so close she can smell cedar and night air, and something wild that makes her wolf whimper in submission. "When it was your kind, humans, who brought this curse upon us in the first place." "The witch who cursed you was acting alone," Celeste says, fighting to keep her voice steady. "She wasn't sanctioned by any human authority." "Silence." The word resonates with Alpha Command, and her jaw snaps shut involuntarily. The power in his voice makes every wolf in the room bow their heads reflexively. But Celeste notices something others might miss, the slight wince that crosses his face, the way his hand briefly touches his chest before he catches himself. The curse is killing him. Faster than anyone knows. She's seen him training in the courtyard at dawn, when the rest of the castle still sleeps, and she's hauling water from the wells. 3 months ago, he could spar for hours without breaking a sweat. Now he can barely make it through 30 minutes before that same pained expression crosses his face. The mark of the curse is spreading too. Dark veins that creep up his neck when he exerts himself. Evidence of the dark magic eating away at his life force. 1 year. That's what the prophecy said. 1 year from the moment of the curse, and the Alpha King would die, leaving Shadowmere vulnerable to the rival packs, circling their borders like sharks scenting blood. 8 months have already passed. "I have information," Celeste blurts out before he can dismiss her entirely, "about breaking the curse." The throne room falls deathly silent. Even Elder Morrigan stops her contemptuous muttering. Dane moves faster than should be possible for someone his size, closing the distance between them until he towers over her. He's at least 6.5 feet tall, his broad shoulders blocking out the torchlight, his presence overwhelming. This close, she can see the slight point to his ears, the way his canines are just a bit too sharp, the faint glow in his eyes that marks him as one of the most powerful shifters ever born. "Speak!" he commands, his voice dropping to a dangerous rumble. "And pray to whatever gods might still listen that you're not wasting my time." Celeste's heart hammers against her ribs. This is the moment. Everything she's risked, every hour spent in the forbidden archives translating ancient texts by stolen candlelight, every beating she's endured for being places half-breeds shouldn't go, it all comes down to this. The curse can be broken by an heir, she says. Not just any child, but one born of true mate bond, conceived willingly and, she swallows hard, carried by someone of mixed blood, human and wolf. The silence that follows is suffocating. Then Morrigan laughs, a sound like breaking bones. This is absurd. The half-breed is spouting fairy tales to save her own worthless hide. She seeks to trap our king with bastard offspring, another council member snarls. This is treason. Execute her now and be done with it, a third voice calls out. But Dane hasn't moved. He's staring at Celeste with an intensity that makes her feel stripped bare, as if he's reading every secret she's ever kept. His jaw clenches, muscles working beneath that perfect skin, and she watches the internal war playing out behind his eyes. "Where did you get this information?" he asks quietly. The softness of his tone is somehow more terrifying than his earlier fury. "The scrolls of Moraine," Celeste answers, "in the sealed section of the library. I've spent months translating them. The sealed section that's forbidden to all but royal blood?" Morrigan's voice rises to a shriek. "She admits to her crimes. Your Majesty, the punishment for such transgression is death." "I know the punishment," Celeste says, lifting her chin. "I knew it before I broke the seals. I knew it every night I risked my life to find an answer. Because unlike everyone else in this castle, I actually care if our king lives or dies." Her voice echoes in the chamber, and she realizes too late that she's just shouted at the most powerful alpha in 5 territories. Dane's eyes flash, a brilliant gold that illuminates his face, and for a moment his claws extend, razor sharp and definitely not human. The wolf is close to his surface, his control strained by the curse and her audacity. "You care," he repeats slowly, and something shifts in his expression. "You, a half-breed servant who's been treated as less than dirt by this pack? You care about my survival?" "I care about Shadowmere," Celeste corrects, even though it's only a partial truth. "If you die without an heir, the pack falls. The Bloodfang Alliance will sweep through our territory within weeks. Everyone I've ever known will be slaughtered or enslaved. So yes, Your Majesty, I care very much about keeping you alive." He circles her slowly, like a predator assessing prey, and she forces herself to remain still. She can feel the heat radiating from his body, the barely contained power that makes the air crackle with energy. "And you believe this solution you've found?" His breath stirs her hair as he leans close to her ear. "You believe that carrying a child, my child, would break the curse?" Her mouth has gone completely dry. The texts were very specific. The witch who cursed you wanted to ensure no simple heir could undo her magic. But she didn't account for mixed blood, Dane finishes, because she believed no alpha of my standing would ever sully his line with such a union. The words shouldn't hurt. They're the same sentiment she's heard her entire life. But coming from him, they land like physical blows. "Yes," she manages. "The witch's arrogance is the weakness in her curse." Dane completes his circle and stands before her again, his massive frame radiating tension. "And why should I believe you've interpreted these texts correctly? Why shouldn't I assume this is some elaborate scheme to elevate your position?" "Because I'm not asking for position," Celeste says fiercely. "I don't want to be your Luna. I don't want recognition or power or any of the things you probably think I'm after. I'm asking you to give me 1 year. Let me carry your heir. Let me prove the curse can be broken. And when the child is born and you're free, I'll leave Shadowmere forever. You can raise the child as your own. Tell them whatever story you want about their mother. I'll disappear, and you'll never have to acknowledge what I am or what we did." She watches him process this, sees the flicker of surprise that crosses his devastatingly handsome face. He wasn't expecting that offer. No one seeking power or status would agree to walk away from being the mother of the Alpha King's heir. "And what do you get from this arrangement?" he asks suspiciously. "Freedom," Celeste answers simply. "You sign a writ of passage, allowing me safe travel through all pack territories. You provide enough gold that I can start a new life somewhere far from here, somewhere I'm not known as the half-breed, The servant. The thing that shouldn't exist. That's my price. That's all? His eyes narrow. You'd give me a child, break an ancient curse, potentially save the entire pack, and all you want is money and permission to leave? All I want is a chance at a real life, she corrects. Something I'll never have here, curse or no curse. Elder Morgan's voice cuts through the moment like a saw. Your Majesty, you cannot possibly be considering this. The bloodline must remain pure. To mix with something like her would be an abomination. The bloodline will be extinct if I die in 4 months, Dane snarls without taking his eyes off Celeste. The raw fury in his voice makes Morgan stumble backward. Perhaps you should consider that before you speak of abominations. He's quiet for a long moment, and Celeste can practically hear him weighing options, calculating odds. She knows what the logical part of his brain must be saying. This is insane, trusting a half-breed with ancient texts, risking his line on a theory. But she also knows what his wolf is telling him, can see it in the way his eyes keep drifting to her throat, to the pulse beating there, can feel it in the way the air between them seems charged with something electric. The mate bond. She's felt it since the first time she saw him, 3 years ago when she was assigned to the castle staff. That inexplicable pull, the certainty that she knew him, that she belonged to him in some fundamental way. She'd buried it deep, knowing it was impossible, that he'd never feel the same pull towards someone like her. Alphas only bond with other powerful wolves, not weak half-breeds. But the texts were clear. The curse could only be broken by a child born of true mates, which means, impossibly, he must be her mate too. He just doesn't know it yet. Leave us, Dane suddenly commands, his voice ringing with absolute authority. All of you, now. Your Majesty, Morgan protests. Now! The word echoes with alpha power so profound that every wolf in the chamber, physically, cannot disobey. They file out in tense silence, shooting Celeste looks that range from pitying to murderous. Morgan is the last to go, her ancient face twisted with disgust and barely concealed rage. When the massive doors boom shut, Celeste and Dane are alone in the vast throne room. The silence stretches between them, heavy with possibility and danger. He moves back to his throne, but doesn't sit, instead leaning against it with deceptive casualness. The position showcases his incredible physique, the broad chest, the heavily muscled arms, the powerful thighs. He looks like some ancient god of war, beautiful and terrible in equal measure. Do you know what you're really asking? His voice is different now, less formal, edged with something raw. You're asking me to take you to my bed, to touch you, claim you, fill you with my seed. You're asking me to see you naked and vulnerable, to learn every sound you make, every way your body responds, and then to let you walk away carrying part of me. Heat floods through Celeste's body at his words, desire pooling low in her belly despite the clinical way he's laying out the facts. She forces herself to meet his blazing amber eyes. Yes, that's what I'm asking. Why? He pushes off from the throne and stalks toward her again, and there's something different in his movement now. Something predatory, but not threatening. Why would you offer yourself this way? Don't tell me it's just for gold and freedom. I can smell lies, Celeste. What's the real reason? He knows her name. She didn't realize he knew her name. Because you're dying, she whispers. And I'm the only one who seems to care enough to do something about it. You don't even know me. I know you train at dawn when you think no one's watching. I know you check on the border guards personally instead of just reading reports. I know you secretly fund the orphanage in the lower district and pretend the money comes from the council. I know you sit with the injured after battles, even when protocol says you shouldn't. I know you're a good king, Dane Wulfric, and this pack needs you alive. Something shifts in his expression. Surprise, confusion, and beneath it all, something that looks almost like longing. You've been watching me. I'm a servant. We're only invisible until people need us, which means we see everything. She takes a shaky breath. I've seen you getting weaker. I've seen the curse marks spreading, and I've seen everyone around you pretending it's not happening because they're too afraid to face what comes next. So yes, I broke into the Forbidden Archives. Yes, I spent months searching for an answer. And yes, I'm standing here offering you the only solution I found, even though I know you probably despise the thought of touching someone like me. Someone like you, he repeats softly, and suddenly he's directly in front of her. So close she has to crane her neck to maintain eye contact. His massive hand comes up, and she tenses, expecting violence. Instead, his fingers, tipped with just the hint of claws, brush her cheek with unexpected gentleness. Do you know what I see when I look at you, Celeste? She can barely breathe. A half-breed, a servant, someone beneath your notice. I see courage, he says, his thumb tracing her jawline. I see someone who risked death to save people who've treated her like dirt. I see a woman who could have sold her information to my enemies for a fortune, but instead brought it to me with an offer that benefits her barely at all. His eyes search hers, intense and burning. I see beauty that's been hidden under servants' clothes and lowered eyes. And I see... He stops abruptly, a frown creasing his perfect features. What? Celeste whispers. I see my mate, he breathes, and the words seem to be pulled from him against his will. That's not possible. I've been searching for my true mate for 15 years. I would have known. I would have felt... He stumbles backward as if she's burned him, his hand going to his chest where the curse mark lies, hidden beneath his tunic. No, this is the curse. This is dark magic making me feel it's not the curse, Celeste says, her heart hammering so hard she's sure he can hear it. The mate bond is the reason I could break the seals on the archives. Blood magic responds to truth, and my truth was that I was trying to save my mate. I didn't understand it at the time. I thought it was just responding to my mixed heritage, but... Stop! The command in his voice is absolute, but she can hear the panic underneath. Mates are sacred. They're supposed to be equals, partners. You're a half-breed servant who shouldn't exist, Celeste finishes, and she can't quite keep the bitterness from her voice. Yes, I know. Believe me, I know how impossible this is. Why do you think I offered to leave after the child is born? I'm not asking you to accept the mate bond. I'm not asking you to love me or claim me or any of that. I'm asking you to save your own life and your pack's future. What I feel, what we apparently are to each other, that doesn't have to matter. Dane is shaking his head, his dark hair falling across his forehead as he paces the throne room like a caged wolf. She watches the muscles in his shoulders bunch and flex beneath his tunic, watches the internal war playing out across his devastatingly handsome face. 4 months, he finally says, stopping his pacing. I have 4 months left before the curse kills me. If what you've found is true, if a child conceived between mates can break this magic... He turns to face her fully, and the weight of his stare is almost physical. It has to be conceived willingly. The texts specified that? Yes, Celeste confirms. Both parties must consent freely, without coercion. That's part of what makes the magic powerful enough to counter the curse. And you consent? Truly? His eyes bore into hers. Because if this happens, Celeste, I won't be gentle. I can't afford to be. We're on a deadline, and my wolf is already half mad from the curse. If I claim you, even for this purpose, the beast will be hard to control. A shiver runs through her that's not entirely fear. I consent. Then we have a bargain. He moves to a cabinet behind the throne, pulls out parchment and ink. When he returns, she sees he's drafted a contract with impossible speed, his handwriting bold and decisive. This states that you'll carry my heir, that upon the child's birth you'll receive 50,000 gold pieces and a writ of safe passage through all territories. The child will be mine to raise as I see fit, and you'll forfeit all parental claims. You'll remain in the castle until the birth, with full protection under my authority. No one may harm you or speak against you without answering to me directly. He looks up from the parchment. Is this acceptable? Celeste scans the document, surprised by how fair the terms are. More than fair, generous even. It is. Then sign. Her hand trembles only slightly as she takes the quill and scrawls her name. Dane signs below it, then bites his thumb, letting a drop of blood fall on the parchment. The blood magic flares gold, sealing the contract with power that makes the air shimmer. "It's done," he says quietly. "As of this moment, you're under my protection. No one in this castle can touch you." His amber eyes meet hers, and there's something almost vulnerable in them. "But Celeste, you need to understand what you've agreed to. I'm not just taking you to my bed to perform some duty. You're my mate. My wolf knows it now, even if my mind wants to deny it. When I claim you, it will be with everything I am. Every instinct will be screaming at me to mark you, to keep you, to never let you go. The arrangement you want, where you walk away after, it's going to be nearly impossible." "But not completely impossible?" she asks softly. "Not if it's what you truly want." Pain flashes across his face. "If you really want freedom from me, from this pack, from everything, I'll honor that, no matter what it costs me." The words hang in the air between them, heavy with meaning. This isn't just a bargain anymore. It's something far more complicated. "When?" Celeste asks because she needs to know, needs to prepare herself. "Tonight," Dane says. "We don't have time to waste on courtship or ceremony. Tonight you'll come to my chambers, and tonight—" His eyes flash gold, the wolf rising to the surface. "You become mine." The castle is dark when Celeste makes her way through the corridors hours later, her heart pounding so hard she's dizzy with it. She's bathed in the private chamber Dane assigned to her, the first time she's ever had a room of her own instead of the servants' dormitory. She's wearing a simple nightgown, her long dark hair falling loose around her shoulders. She refused the ornate dresses that appeared mysteriously on her bed, wanting to go to him as herself, not dressed up as something she's not. The king's chambers are in the highest tower, and the walk there feels both endless and far too short. Her mind races with 1,000 thoughts. What if this doesn't work? What if she can't conceive? What if she does, but the curse isn't broken? What if— The door opens before she can knock, and Dane stands there silhouetted by firelight. He's removed his formal tunic, wearing only loose black pants that hang low on his narrow hips. And oh God, she wasn't prepared for this. His torso is a masterwork of muscle, every inch carved with impossible definition. His shoulders are even broader than she realized, his arms thick with power, his chest and abs so perfectly defined they look sculpted from marble. Scars crisscross his skin, evidence of countless battles, and they only make him more devastatingly attractive. "Come in," he says, his voice rougher than before. "Before I lose what little control I have left." Celeste steps inside, and the door closes behind her with a sound of finality. The king's chambers are surprisingly simple: a massive bed, a fireplace, weapons mounted on the walls, and not much else. This is a warrior's room, not a politician's. Dane stands with his back to the fire, the light playing across his incredible physique. But Celeste sees what others might miss: the dark veins creeping up his chest from where the curse mark sits over his heart. They're more pronounced than they were this morning, spreading like poison through his system. They're running out of time. "I need you to understand something before we do this," Dane says, not moving toward her. "I've been with other women. Many over the years. But I've never—" He stops, his jaw clenching. "I've never felt the mate bond before. Never had my wolf recognize someone as ours. So whatever happens tonight, whatever I do or say, it won't be calculated or controlled. It'll be raw instinct." "I understand," Celeste says, even though she doesn't. Not really. She's never been with anyone. Between her status and her constant work, there's been no time for romance, no opportunity for anything but survival. "Do you?" He finally moves toward her, and it's like watching a mountain shift. "Because I can already feel my wolf clawing to get out. Already feel the need to mark you, claim you so thoroughly that everyone will know you're mine. The fact that you want to leave after—" His voice drops to a growl. "My wolf hates that. Wants to refuse. wants to keep you here by any means necessary. But you won't, Celeste says softly, because you're a good man, Dane Wulfric, and you keep your word. Something in his expression cracks at that. Some careful mask falling away. I'm not good, Celeste. I've done things that would horrify you. I've killed so many people I've lost count. I've made decisions that sacrifice the few to save the many. I've been cruel when necessary and ruthless when required. Don't make me into some noble hero. I'm just a wolf trying to survive. You're a king trying to save his people, Celeste corrects. There's a difference. He reaches her then, one massive hand coming up to cup her face. His palm is warm, slightly rough with calluses, and so large it makes her feel delicate by comparison. His thumb brushes her lower lip, and heat floods through her at the simple touch. Last chance, he murmurs, his amber eyes searching hers. Last chance to walk away, to say this is insane, to choose safety over whatever this is. I choose you, Celeste whispers. I choose us. I choose the possibility of saving Shadowmere and giving you the future you deserve. Then seal it with a kiss, Dane says, because once I taste you, mate, I won't be able to stop. Celeste rises on her toes, he's so tall she has to stretch, and presses her lips to his. For a moment he's perfectly still, letting her control the contact. Then something in him snaps. He growls against her mouth, the sound vibrating through her chest, and his arms come around her like steel bands. He lifts her effortlessly, and she gasps at the casual display of his incredible strength. Her legs wrap instinctively around his narrow waist, and then he's kissing her like he's starving for it, like she's air and he's been drowning. His mouth is demanding, dominant, taking everything she offers and demanding more. His tongue sweeps against hers, claiming every inch, and she can feel his sharp canines grazing her lips. The wolf is so close to the surface now. She can feel it in the way his body temperature rises, in the claws that prick carefully at her back through her nightgown, in the golden glow of his eyes when he pulls back to look at her. Mine, he growls, and the word resonates with alpha command, with possession, with a claiming that goes bone deep. My mate, my female, mine. Yours, Celeste agrees breathlessly, and saying it feels like stepping off a cliff. For tonight, for this year, for as long as you need me. Yours. He carries her to the bed, and despite his earlier warnings about roughness, he lays her down with surprising gentleness. The firelight plays across his face as he stands over her, and she's never seen anything as beautiful as Dane Wulfric looking at her with hunger and wonder, and something that might be awe. I can smell your innocence, he says quietly. You've never done this before. It's not a question, but Celeste answers anyway. No, there was never time, never opportunity, never anyone who... She stops, but he understands. Never anyone who saw you as worth their time, he finishes, anger flashing across his face. Fools, every one of them. He braces his hands on either side of her head, his massive frame caging her in. I'll try to be gentle for your first time. But Celeste, I can't promise. The wolf wants to claim you so badly. Then claim me, she says, reaching up to touch his face, tracing that perfect jawline. I'm not afraid of your wolf. I'm not afraid of you. His eyes flash pure gold, and she watches in fascination as his ears shift slightly, becoming more pointed, more wolf-like. His canines lengthen, and she can feel the claws pricking at the sheets beside her head. This is the alpha, in his truest form, part man, part beast, utterly magnificent. You should be, he whispers, but there's no real warning in it. Just wonder that she's not running, that she's looking at his wolf form with fascination instead of fear. Then he's kissing her again, and his hands are moving, sliding the nightgown up and off in one smooth motion. The cool air hits her skin, and she tenses instinctively, suddenly aware of her nakedness, of his eyes taking in every inch of her. Perfect, Dane breathes, his massive hands skimming up her sides, making her shiver. Absolutely perfect. How did I not see you before? How did I walk past you for 3 years and not know what you were to me? I'm very good at being invisible, Celeste manages, but then his mouth finds her throat, and all coherent thought evaporates. He kisses and nips his way down her neck, careful of those sharp teeth, but she can feel the restraint it takes. His wolf wants to bite, to mark, to make sure every other wolf knows she's claimed. His hands map her body like he's memorizing it, touching her with a reverence that makes her heart ache. When his mouth finds her breast, she arches off the bed with a gasp. The sensation is overwhelming. His tongue swirling, his teeth grazing carefully, his hand kneading and shaping her to his palm. She's never felt anything like this, never knew her body could respond this way. Dane, she whimpers, and hearing his name on her lips seems to drive him wilder. He explores every inch of her, his mouth and hands, learning what makes her gasp, what makes her moan, what makes her writhe beneath him. By the time he settles between her thighs, she's trembling with need, empty, and aching for something she can't even name. Look at me, Dane commands, and her eyes snap to his. The gold glow is so bright now she can see by it, can see the wolf barely contained beneath his skin. I need you to know who's claiming you, who's inside you. Say my name, Celeste. Dane, she breathes. That's right. He positions himself and she feels him there, hot and hard and impossibly large. Your mate, your alpha, yours. He pushes forward slowly, carefully, and the stretch is intense. She gasps, her hands flying to his massive shoulders, solid muscle beneath her palms, and he stops immediately. Breathe, he instructs, his voice strained with the effort of holding back. Just breathe, mate. Your body was made for mine. It will fit. Just breathe. She does, forcing herself to relax, and he eases forward another inch. The sensation is overwhelming. Not quite pain, but intense, foreign. Too much and not enough all at once. That's it, Dane murmurs, his forehead pressed to hers, his body trembling with restraint. That's my brave girl. Taking me so well. Just a little more. He rocks forward again, and suddenly he's fully seated, and Celeste can't breathe for a completely different reason. She feels impossibly full, stretched, claimed in the most fundamental way possible. Okay? Dane asks through gritted teeth, and she realizes he's holding completely still, waiting for her permission to move, despite how much it must be costing him. Okay, she manages, experimenting with shifting her hips. The motion sends sparks of sensation through her, and she gasps. Oh, this is nothing, Dane promises darkly. Wait until I really start moving. He pulls back slowly, then pushes forward again, setting a gentle rhythm that gradually builds. True to his word, the sensation intensifies, pleasure building with each thrust. His hands grip her hips, those claws pricking her skin just enough to remind her what he is, and the slight edge of danger only makes everything more intense. Mine, he growls again, and she feels his teeth against her shoulder, scraping the sensitive skin there. Say it. Say you're mine. Yours, Celeste gasps, her body rising to meet his thrusts now, seeking more of that incredible friction. I'm yours, Dane. Yours. The words unleash something in him. His control fractures and suddenly he's moving faster, harder, his incredible strength on full display. The bed shakes with the force of his claiming, and she should be frightened. This is raw alpha power, the wolf barely contained, but instead she's meeting him thrust for thrust, crying out his name, reaching for something she can barely comprehend. That's it, Dane encourages, one hand sliding between their bodies to touch her where they're joined. Come for me, Celeste. Let me feel you. The sensation of his fingers combined with his relentless thrusts is too much. Pleasure crashes over her in waves so intense she screams, her body clenching around him, her nails raking down his back. She feels him swell impossibly larger inside her, feels the moment he loses control entirely. He roars her name as he claims her completely, his teeth finally sinking into her shoulder in a claiming bite. The mark burns with golden light, the mate bond snapping into place so powerfully it steals her breath. She can feel him now, his emotions, his wolf, his very soul entwined with hers. The connection is overwhelming, perfect, terrifying in its intensity. When the golden light fades, they're both gasping. Dane's weight is heavy on her, his face buried in her neck where he marked her, his body still trembling with aftershocks. She can feel his heart pounding against her chest, matching the frantic rhythm of her own. "I marked you," he says after a long moment, his voice thick with horror and wonder. "I wasn't supposed to. I was just going to." He lifts his head to look at her, and his expression is anguished. "Celeste, I'm sorry. The mate mark means you can't. You're bound to me now. You can't leave. If you try to go too far from me, it'll cause you physical pain. I've trapped you." Celeste reaches up to touch his face, this devastatingly handsome alpha who looks at her like she's precious, like she's everything. "Maybe I don't want to leave anymore." "Don't say that just because of the mate bond." "I'm not." She strokes his jaw, feeling the slight stubble there. "I'm saying it because, for the first time in my life, someone sees me. Really sees me. Not as a half-breed or a servant or something shameful. You look at me like I matter. You do matter." Dane's eyes are fierce. "You're my mate, the other half of my soul. You've always mattered, Celeste. I was just too blind to see it before." He kisses her gently, so different from the claiming fury of minutes ago, and she feels tears prick her eyes. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to give him an heir and walk away. She wasn't supposed to fall for him, wasn't supposed to want to stay. But the mate bond has changed everything. "What do we do now?" she whispers against his lips. "Now," Dane says, carefully pulling out of her and gathering her against his chest. "We rest, and then we do this again, and again, as many times as it takes to ensure you conceive. And while we wait to see if the curse breaks." He strokes her hair, his touch impossibly gentle for someone so powerful. We figure out what it means that the Alpha King's mate is a half-breed servant. "Because, Celeste, one thing is certain. I'm never letting you go." She should protest, should remind him of their bargain, of the contract they signed. But wrapped in his arms, feeling his heartbeat beneath her cheek, feeling the mate bond humming contentedly between them, all she can do is whisper, "Okay." They fall asleep tangled together, and for the first time in longer than she can remember, Celeste feels safe. The next morning, chaos erupts. Celeste wakes to raised voices outside the chamber doors, and Dane is already out of bed, pulling on pants with warrior efficiency. Even fresh from sleep, he's magnificent, all those muscles flexing and bunching as he moves, his dark hair deliciously disheveled. "Stay here," he commands, and she watches him stride to the door. But she's not about to hide. She grabs a sheet, wraps it around herself, and follows. Dane throws open the door to find Elder Morrigan, 2 other council members, and at least a dozen pack wolves crowded in the corridor. They all reek of aggression and fury. "What is the meaning of this?" Dane demands, every inch the Alpha King, despite his bare chest. "We can smell her on you," Morrigan hisses. "You bedded the half-breed. You've sullied the royal line with her tainted blood." "Watch your tongue," Dane snarls, his eyes flashing gold. "Or lose it." "Your Majesty, please see reason," one of the other council members pleads. "Whatever arrangement you made with her, it can be undone. Send her away. Choose a proper mate from one of the pure bloodlines. She is my mate." Dane's voice rings with absolute authority. "The mate bond has been completed. She bears my mark. And anyone who speaks against her speaks against me." The shock that ripples through the crowd is palpable. Morrigan stumbles backward, her face twisted with disgust and disbelief. "No, that's not possible. The moon goddess wouldn't pair an Alpha King with something like her. Apparently, she would." Dane pulls Celeste forward, and she sees the exact moment they notice the claiming mark on her shoulder, still glowing faintly gold. "This is Celeste, my true mate, and she will be treated with the respect due to the future Luna of Shadowmere." Future Luna? Celeste gasps because that wasn't part of the plan. That wasn't what they agreed. You think I can mark you, bond with you, and then let you serve as anything less? Dane looks down at her with fierce eyes. You're mine, Celeste, which means you stand at my side, not behind it. But the contract can be burned for all I care. He turns back to the assembled pack members. Spread the word. My mate is under my protection. Anyone who harms her, insults her, or treats her as anything other than your future Luna will answer to me personally. Is that understood? No one dares argue with an Alpha King in full dominance mode. They bow their heads in submission. Even Morrigan, though the old woman's face promises future trouble. As the crowd disperses, Dane pulls Celeste back into the chamber and shuts the door. I know that wasn't what we agreed, but I can't. He runs a hand through his hair in frustration. I can't pretend you're just some temporary arrangement. Not when my wolf knows you're ours. Not when I can feel your emotions through the bond. Not when the thought of you leaving makes me want to tear the castle apart. What about the curse? Celeste asks. Do you feel any different? Dane's hand goes to his chest, pressing where the curse mark lies. His eyes widen slightly. It's quieter. The pain is less, but it's still there. He looks at her with understanding. It won't break until the child is conceived, will it? The text said conception, Celeste confirms, but that could take weeks or even months. Then we'll spend those weeks preparing the pack to accept you, Dane says firmly. And, Celeste, I need you to understand something. Even if we'd never met, even if there was no curse, you would have been worthy of respect. The pack has treated you like dirt because they're blind and prejudiced and afraid of anything different. But you're strong. You survived 26 years in a pack that should have protected you, but instead made you invisible. You taught yourself to read ancient script well enough to translate the most complex texts in our archives. You had the courage to walk into a throne room full of people who hate you and offer to save your king. That's not weakness. That's extraordinary strength. His words crack something open inside her, some wall she's built to protect herself from years of rejection. Tears spill down her cheeks before she can stop them. Hey, Dane says softly, pulling her close. What's wrong? Nothing, Celeste manages. It's just, no one's ever said anything like that to me before. No one's ever treated me like I was worth everything, Dane finishes, tilting her face up to his. Because you are. And I'm going to spend however long it takes proving that to you. He kisses her then, gentle and sweet, and Celeste feels the mate bond pulse with warmth between them. Maybe this wasn't what she planned. Maybe being Luna of Shadowmere is terrifying. Maybe there are still enemies in the castle who want her dead. But for the first time in her life, she has someone who sees her, who values her, who will fight for her. And maybe that's worth staying for. The next 3 weeks are the strangest of Celeste's life. Dane refuses to let her return to the servants' quarters. Instead, he has her belongings, not that she has many, moved into the Luna's chambers, a suite of rooms connected to his own that have been empty since his mother's death 15 years ago. He assigns her personal guards, 2 fierce female warriors named Kira and Rhea, who treat her with cautious respect. He insists she join him for meals, sit beside him during pack meetings, and learn everything she'll need to know to eventually help him rule. The pack's reaction is mixed at best. The younger wolves seem curious, even sympathetic, especially after word spreads about why Dane chose her, that she might be the key to breaking the curse. The older wolves, particularly those on the council, radiate barely concealed hostility. Morrigan has become Celeste's most vocal enemy, constantly making snide comments about tainted bloodlines and improper unions, but Dane shuts down every complaint with ruthless efficiency. When a council member suggests that Celeste should at least be kept out of official pack business, Dane strips him of his position on the spot. When rumors start spreading that Celeste used dark magic to trap the king, Dane calls an assembly and publicly declares the mate bond, forcing everyone to acknowledge what she is to him. You're making enemies, Celeste warns him one night as they lie in his massive bed, her head resting on his muscular chest. I've always had enemies, Dane replies, his fingers trailing through her hair. At least these ones are honest about it. Morgan wants me dead. Morgan wants power, and she sees you as a threat to her influence over the council. His arm tightens around her. She won't touch you. She knows I'd kill her. It should disturb Celeste how casually he says it, but she's learning that Dane's protectiveness is absolute. When one of the kitchen workers accidentally served her food laced with wolfsbane, not enough to kill, but enough to make her violently ill, Dane personally hunted down every person who'd handled the meal. 3 wolves were exiled from the pack. The message was clear. Harm his mate, and there's no mercy. The curse is still killing him, though. Slower than before, but she can see the dark veins spreading a little more each day. They don't have much time, and despite their nightly attempts, she hasn't conceived yet. What if it doesn't work? She asks quietly. What if I can't get pregnant? Or what if the texts were wrong? Or, then we'll find another way, Dane says firmly. But Celeste, I need you to promise me something. If it comes down to the end, if the curse is going to kill me, I need you to promise you'll leave Shadowmere. Take the gold, use the writ of passage, get far away from here. What? No, I'm not. Please. His hand cups her face, and his amber eyes are intense. If I die, the pack will fall apart. There will be civil war as various wolves fight to claim the throne. You'll be targeted by everyone who sees you as a symbol of my weakness or a threat to their claim. I need to know you'll survive, even if I don't. You're not going to die, Celeste says fiercely. I won't let you. He smiles sadly. You might not have a choice, little mate. Stop talking like that. She sits up, the sheet falling away, and she sees his eyes darken as he takes in her naked form. Even after weeks together, his desire for her hasn't dimmed at all. You're going to survive this. We're going to break the curse, and then you're going to be a very annoying, overprotective mate for the next 50 years while I learn how to be a Luna. That's how this story ends. You sound very certain, Dane murmurs, pulling her down for a kiss. I am certain, she whispers against his lips, because the alternative is unacceptable. He rolls them so he's above her, his massive frame caging her in, and she sees the wolf very close to the surface in his glowing eyes. Say it again. Say what? That you're staying, that you're choosing this, choosing me. His voice is rough with need, with vulnerability. I need to hear it. I'm staying, Celeste promises, reaching up to trace his perfect jawline. I'm choosing this life, this pack, this man. I'm choosing you, Dane Wulfric. For as long as you'll have me. Forever then, he growls, and captures her mouth in a searing kiss. They make love with desperate intensity, as if they're running out of time, which, Celeste realizes with a chill, they might be. She pushes the thought away and focuses on the feeling of him inside her, the weight of him above her, the mate bond singing with pleasure and connection, and something that feels dangerously close to love. When they're both spent and tangled together in the aftermath, Celeste feels something shift inside her. It's subtle, barely noticeable, but it's there, a warmth, a presence, a sense of new life beginning. Dane, she breathes, pressing a hand to her flat stomach. He's instantly alert, his hand covering hers. What? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. She looks up at him with wonder. I think it worked. I can feel... She doesn't know how to explain it, this certainty that something has changed. Dane's eyes go wide, and then he's pressing his hand more firmly against her belly, his alpha senses reaching out. When his eyes flash gold and his face transforms with awe, she knows he feels it too. A child, he whispers. Our child. You're... Pregnant, Celeste finishes, joy and terror warring inside her. I'm pregnant. For a long moment they just stare at each other, the magnitude of it settling over them. Then Dane lets out a whoop of triumph so loud it probably wakes half the castle. He lifts Celeste and spins her around, laughing with pure joy, and she can't help but laugh with him. We did it, he says, setting her down carefully. suddenly treating her like she's made of glass. "We actually did it. Now we just have to wait and see if—" He stops abruptly, his hand flying to his chest. Celeste watches in amazement as the curse marks, those dark veins that have been spreading for months, begin to glow. Not with sickly darkness, but with golden light. The same gold as the mate bond. "It's working," she breathes. "The curse is breaking." Dane drops to his knees, his face contorted with pain and relief as the dark magic is purged from his system. The light grows brighter, filling the chamber, and Celeste can see the curse being literally burned away by the power of the mate bond and the life they've created together. When the light finally fades, Dane is gasping on the floor, his body sheened with sweat. But when he looks up at her, his eyes are clear. The dark veins are gone. The curse is broken. "You saved me," he says, his voice rough with emotion. "You actually saved me." Celeste kneels beside him, taking his face in her hands. "We saved each other." He pulls her into a fierce embrace, and she can feel him trembling against her. This powerful Alpha King, this warrior who's faced down armies and death itself, is shaking with relief and gratitude, an overwhelming emotion. "Thank you," he whispers into her hair. "Thank you for seeing me, for saving me, for choosing me." "Always," Celeste promises, "for as long as we live." The next morning Dane calls an emergency assembly. The entire pack crowds into the great hall, and the buzz of speculation is deafening. Many have heard about the light in the king's chambers last night. Some think it was an attack. Others whisper about dark magic. Celeste stands at Dane's side on the dais, wearing her first formal gown, midnight blue that brings out her eyes, and trying not to let her nervousness show. Kira and Rhea flank her like guardian angels, their hands on their weapons. When Dane raises his hand, the hall falls silent instantly. The mark of a true alpha, he doesn't have to shout or demand attention. His mere presence commands it. "The curse is broken," he announces, his voice ringing through the hall. The reaction is immediate and explosive. Shouts of joy, howls of celebration, people embracing and crying with relief. For 8 months, they've lived under the shadow of losing their king. Now, suddenly, that shadow is gone. Dane waits for the noise to die down before continuing. "The curse was broken by the intervention of my mate, Celeste. Using ancient texts, she found the key to undoing the dark magic. She risked her life to save mine, and in doing so, she saved Shadowmere." The hall erupts again, but this time, the cheers are directed at her. Celeste feels heat flood her face as hundreds of wolves turn to look at her with gratitude, respect, even admiration. "Furthermore," Dane says, and his hand finds hers, squeezing gently, "she carries my heir. The child that broke the curse now grows within her. And when it's born, it will be the first of a new generation, one not bound by old prejudices about bloodlines and purity. My child will be half-blooded, just like their mother, and they will be loved and valued and raised to lead this pack with compassion and strength." The silence now is different, shocked, uncertain. Celeste can see the wheels turning in people's minds as they process what Dane is really saying. He's not just accepting her. He's declaring that their child, a half-breed, will be the next in line for the throne. He's fundamentally changing the power structure of Shadowmere. Elder Morrigan steps forward from the council section, her face twisted with rage. "Your Majesty, you cannot be serious. The throne has always passed to pure-blooded wolves. To alter that tradition—" "The tradition ends now," Dane says coldly. "My mate is half-human. My child will be of mixed blood, and they will be your future alpha. Anyone who has a problem with that is welcome to challenge me for leadership. It's a deadly offer. No one in their right mind would challenge Dane Wulfric in combat. He's the most powerful alpha in generations. But Morrigan is desperate, her influence crumbling, and desperate wolves do foolish things. "I challenge," she shouts. Under ancient rights, I claim the right to trial by combat for leadership of Shadowmere. The hall erupts in chaos. Even Dane looks surprised. Morrigan is ancient, nowhere near strong enough to actually fight him. This is suicide. Elder Morrigan, Dane says slowly, giving her one chance to back down. You know you can't defeat me. Don't throw your life away. I don't have to defeat you, Morrigan says with a cruel smile. Ancient rights allow me to name a champion, and I name Gareth Bloodfang. A massive wolf steps out of the crowd, and Celeste's blood runs cold. Gareth Bloodfang is the heir to the Bloodfang Alliance, the rival pack that's been waiting for Shadowmere to fall. He's nearly as large as Dane, covered in scars from countless battles, and his eyes gleam with murderous intent. The Bloodfang Alliance has been granted guest rights in our territory for the duration of the assembly, Morrigan says smugly. Their representative is here legally, and as my champion, he has the right to challenge for the throne. This is treason, Dane growls, his eyes flashing gold. This is pack law, Morrigan counters. Surely the great Alpha King isn't afraid of a fair fight. Dane looks like he wants to tear her apart, but he can't. She's right, it is pack law, old but still valid. And if he refuses the challenge, he'll be seen as weak, and that could spark civil war just as surely as his death. Fine, Dane says, his voice dropping to a lethal purr. I accept. Tomorrow at dawn, we meet in the traditional combat grounds. Gareth Bloodfang and I will fight, and the winner claims leadership of Shadowmere. His eyes bore into Morrigan. But know this, Elder. When I win, you and any who conspired with you will be exiled. You'll be packless, territoryless, without protection or sanctuary. Do you still wish to proceed? For just a moment, Morrigan's confidence wavers. Then she nods. I do. The rest of the day passes in a blur of preparation. Dane spends hours with his war council, planning strategy even though challenges are supposed to be one-on-one combat, without weapons or assistance. Kira and Rhea triple the guards around Celeste, worried that Morrigan might try something before the fight. Celeste barely eats, her stomach churning with anxiety. She's seen Gareth Bloodfang, and he's terrifying. A killing machine who's rumored to have murdered his own father to claim leadership of the Bloodfang pack. When night falls, she finds Dane alone on the training grounds, beating a practice dummy into splinters with his bare fists. You should be resting, she says softly. Can't rest. He doesn't stop his relentless assault on the dummy. Too much adrenaline. Celeste walks up behind him, placing a gentle hand on his back. Beneath her palm, she can feel every muscle coiled tight with tension. Talk to me. Dane finally stops, turning to face her. Even in the moonlight, she can see the worry in his eyes. If something happens tomorrow, nothing's going to happen. If something happens, he continues firmly, Kira and Rhea will get you out. They have horses ready, supplies, enough gold to get you far from here. You'll use the writ of passage. Stop. Celeste cups his face in her hands, forcing him to look at her. You're not going to lose. You're the strongest alpha I've ever seen. You're going to tear Gareth apart, and then we're going to raise our child together in peace. That's what's going to happen. You can't know that, Dane whispers. Yes, I can. She pulls his hand to her still flat stomach. Because this child isn't just any heir. They're the child that broke an ancient curse. They're proof that love and courage can overcome dark magic itself, and they deserve to know their father. So you're going to win tomorrow, Dane Wulfric, because failure isn't an option. Something in his expression softens, and he pulls her close, burying his face in her neck. How did I get so lucky? To find you, to have you, to be stuck with a stubborn half-breed who won't let you give up? Celeste finishes. He laughs despite himself. Something like that. They stand there in the moonlight, holding each other, and Celeste tries to memorize this moment. The feeling of his arms around her, his heartbeat against her cheek, the mate bond humming contentedly between them. Whatever happens tomorrow, they have this. They have each other. Come to bed, she murmurs. You need rest, even if you think you don't. Dane allows her to lead him back to their chambers, and they lie together in the darkness. He's tense despite her attempts to soothe him, his mind clearly racing with strategies and contingencies. "Dane," Celeste says quietly, "do you trust me?" "With my life," he answers immediately. "Then trust me when I say you're going to win. Trust me when I say our story doesn't end tomorrow. Trust me when I say I love you." She feels him go still beside her. "You love me? Is that really so surprising?" She props herself up on one elbow, looking down at his shadowed face. "You're brave, and strong, and loyal. You protected me when no one else would. You see me, Dane. Really see me. How could I not love you?" "I love you too," he breathes, and the words are rough with emotion. "I've been falling for you since the moment you walked into that throne room and demanded I listen. My fierce, courageous mate." He pulls her down for a kiss that's tender and desperate all at once, and they make love slowly, savoring every touch, every sensation. It feels like a promise, like a vow that tomorrow won't be goodbye. When dawn comes, they rise together and dress in silence. Dane puts on his fighting leathers, supple black material that will allow maximum movement. Celeste wears a simple dress, knowing she'll be in the stands, watching, praying. The combat grounds are already packed with spectators when they arrive. Every wolf in Shadowmere has turned out to witness this, along with representatives from other packs who got word of the challenge. The Blood Fang Alliance has a large delegation, all of them watching with hungry eyes. Gareth Bloodfang waits in the center of the fighting circle, stripped to the waist, his body a map of scars. When Dane enters the circle, the two alphas size each other up like predators deciding who's prey. "Last chance to yield," Dane offers. Gareth just smiles, revealing teeth filed to points. "I'm going to enjoy killing you, and then I'm going to enjoy claiming your half-breed mate. Maybe I'll keep her as a pet." Dane's eyes flash pure gold, and his wolf surges to the surface. "You'll die before you touch her." An elder from the council, not Morrigan, steps forward to officiate. Traditional challenge rules apply. Fight continues until one party yields or dies. Shifting is permitted. Weapons are not. Interference from outside will result in immediate execution. He looks at both fighters. "Are you ready?" Both alphas nod. "Then begin." Gareth moves first, lunging with supernatural speed. But Dane is faster, sidestepping and landing a devastating punch to Gareth's ribs that cracks bones audibly. Gareth snarls and shifts partially, his wolf features emerging, ears, claws, fangs lengthening. Dane matches him, both alphas now in their hybrid forms, and the real battle begins. They clash in a fury of claws and fangs, moving so fast they're almost a blur. Dane's superior strength is evident. Every hit he lands sends Gareth stumbling, but Gareth is vicious and experienced, fighting dirty, going for eyes and throat with no honor. Blood spatters the ground. Celeste grips the railing of the stands so hard her knuckles turn white, forcing herself to watch even when she wants to close her eyes. Kira and Rhea stand on either side of her, equally tense. Gareth manages to sink his claws into Dane's shoulder, tearing deep gouges, and Celeste gasps. But Dane doesn't slow. He grabs Gareth's arm and twists, breaking it with a sickening snap. Gareth howls in pain and fury. "Yield!" Dane commands. "This doesn't have to end in death." "Never." Gareth spits blood. "Shadowmere will be mine." He launches himself at Dane with renewed frenzy, and they go down in a tangle of limbs and fury. They roll across the ground, each trying to gain advantage, and for a terrifying moment Gareth is on top, his claws at Dane's throat. "No!" Celeste screams, and the mate bond flares between them, sending a surge of her desperate fear and love directly into Dane. The Alpha King's eyes snap to her in the stands, and something in his expression changes. He's not fighting for pride or tradition anymore. He's fighting for her, for their child, for their future. With a roar that shakes the ground, Dane throws Gareth off him and surges to his feet. His power explodes outward, alpha dominance so profound that every wolf in the stands bows their head reflexively. Even Gareth stumbles, forced to his knees by the sheer weight of Dane's authority. "You made one critical mistake," Dane says, his voice resonating with primal power. "You threatened my mate, and there is nothing I won't do to protect what's mine." He moves with lethal grace, faster than should be possible, and his claws find Gareth's throat. One quick slash, and it's over. Gareth falls to the ground, blood pooling beneath him, his eyes already glazing over. The silence is absolute. Then someone in the crowd begins to howl, the traditional wolf cry of victory. Others join in, and soon the entire gathering is howling their approval, their relief, their celebration that their king has won. Dane stands in the center of the circle, covered in blood, breathing hard, his eyes still glowing gold. Then his gaze finds Celeste in the stands, and his expression softens. He shifts back to human form, though he keeps the pointed ears and fangs too close to his wolf to fully suppress it, and holds out his hand to her. "Come here." Celeste doesn't hesitate. She pushes through the crowd and runs into the circle, into his arms, not caring about the blood or the watching pack or anything, except that he's alive. He's safe. He won. "Told you," she says against his chest. "You did," Dane agrees, his arms tight around her. Then, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Witness this. Celeste is my mate, my Luna, the mother of my child. She saved me from the curse, and she just gave me the strength to win this battle. Anyone who disrespects her disrespects me. Anyone who harms her signs their own death warrant. She is mine, and I am hers, bound by mate bond and blood oath. Do you accept her as your Luna?" The answering howl is deafening. Thousands of wolves acknowledging her, accepting her, claiming her as their Luna. Even the wolves who've hated her for her mixed blood can't deny what she is to their king, can't deny that she saved him twice now. Elder Morrigan is conspicuously absent from the celebration, and Dane nods to his guards. "Find Morrigan and her co-conspirators. Strip them of their pack bonds and exile them immediately. They have until sunset to leave our territory." The guards move to obey, and Dane finally relaxes, pressing a kiss to Celeste's forehead. "It's done. You're safe. We're safe." "We're safe," Celeste echoes, tears streaming down her face. "And we're together." "Always," Dane promises. "For the rest of our lives, little mate. You and me, and our half-breed heir, who's going to be the strongest alpha this pack has ever seen." Celeste laughs through her tears, and the pack howls again, celebrating not just their king's victory, but the new future he's promised them. A future where bloodlines don't determine worth, where courage matters more than purity, where a half-breed servant can become Luna and change everything. As Dane lifts her into his arms and carries her from the combat grounds, ignoring propriety and tradition in favor of simply holding his mate close, Celeste realizes something profound. She spent 26 years being invisible, being told she was less than, being treated like she didn't matter. But she was never invisible to fate, never invisible to the mate bond, never invisible to the king who needed her to survive. She was always meant for this, for him, for this impossible, beautiful, terrifying new life. And she's never going to be invisible again. 6 months later, Celeste goes into labor on a stormy autumn night. Dane paces outside the birthing chamber like a caged wolf, driving the midwives crazy with his worry and his insistence on checking on his mate every 5 minutes. Finally, Kira physically blocks the door. "Your Majesty, with all respect, you need to calm down. Celeste is fine. Labor is normal. You breaking down the door every few minutes is not helpful." "But I can feel her pain through the bond," Dane argues, looking genuinely distressed. "She's hurting." "Yes, that's what labor is," Rhea says dryly. "Welcome to the miracle of birth. Now stay out here and let the midwives work." Dane reluctantly backs down, though he continues his relentless pacing. When a particularly strong contraction hits and Celeste's pain floods through the bond, he actually punches a hole in the wall. Kira and Rhea exchange glances. He's going to destroy the castle at this rate. Inside the birthing chamber, Celeste is too focused on the overwhelming sensations to worry about her overwrought mate. The labor is long and difficult. The baby is strong, taking after their father, and reluctant to make their entrance into the world. But finally, as dawn breaks over Shadowmere, a baby's cry fills the air. Dane nearly tears the door off its hinges in his haste to get inside. He finds Celeste propped up in bed, exhausted but glowing, holding a tiny bundle wrapped in soft blankets. "A son," the head midwife announces with a smile. "A strong, healthy son." Dane approaches slowly, almost reverently, and Celeste sees his hands are shaking as he reaches for the baby. "Can I—" "Of course," Celeste says softly, carefully transferring their son into his father's arms. Dane looks down at the tiny face, and his expression transforms with such pure wonder and love that Celeste feels tears prick her eyes. Their son has Dane's dark hair and strong features, but when he opens his eyes, they're the same unusual violet blue as Celeste's, a perfect blend of both parents. "He's perfect," Dane breathes. "Absolutely perfect." "He has pointed ears," Celeste observes with amusement. Even in infant form, their son's wolf heritage is clear. "And look at his hands." Dane carefully examines the tiny fingers, and sure enough, there are hints of claws already forming. "He's going to be powerful. I can feel it. My strong boy." He sits on the edge of the bed, and they both just stare at their son, overwhelmed with love and relief and the sheer miracle of what they've created together. "What should we name him?" Celeste asks. Dane considers for a moment. "Kieran. It means little dark one in the old tongue. But more than that." He traces a gentle finger over the baby's cheek. "It means the one who broke the curse. Because he did. The moment he was conceived, he saved my life and changed Shadowmere forever." "Kieran Wulfric," Celeste tests the name. "I love it." As if in agreement, baby Kieran yawns widely, showing tiny but already sharp fangs, then promptly falls asleep. Over the following weeks, the pack gathers to meet their future alpha. And one by one, even the wolves who were most opposed to Celeste's rise to Luna find themselves won over by the sight of their king cradling his son with such obvious devotion, by the undeniable strength in the baby's wolf features, by the way Celeste has seamlessly stepped into her role as Luna, fair, compassionate, but with a core of steel forged by years of surviving prejudice. 3 months after Kieran's birth, Dane finally holds the formal Luna ceremony. In front of the entire pack and representatives from allied territories, he places the Luna's crown on Celeste's head, a delicate band of silver and moonstone that catches the light like captured stars. "I present Luna Celeste Wulfric," Dane announces, his voice filled with pride, "who saved her king, broke an ancient curse, and gave Shadowmere its future. She is my mate, my equal, my heart. And anyone who denies her place at my side will answer to both my wolf and my crown." The pack howls their acceptance, and this time, there's no dissent. Even the wolves from the Bloodfang Alliance, now under new, less hostile leadership after Gareth's death, bow their heads in respect. That night, after the ceremonies and celebrations finally end, Dane and Celeste stand on their private balcony overlooking Shadowmere. Kieran sleeps peacefully in his cradle inside, watched over by devoted guards. The autumn air is crisp and clean, and the moon hangs full and bright above them. "Do you ever regret it?" Dane asks quietly, his arm around Celeste's waist. "Giving up your dream of freedom? Of a life away from here?" Celeste leans into his warmth, feeling the mate bond pulse contentedly between them. "I used to think freedom meant escape, running away from pain, from prejudice, from everything that hurt. But I learned something." She looks up at him, this devastatingly handsome alpha, who chose her when the world said she was worthless. Real freedom isn't running away. It's being seen, being valued, being loved for exactly who you are. You gave me that freedom, Dane. You and Kieran. This pack. This life. I'm more free now than I ever would have been running away." "I love you," Dane says fiercely, pulling her close. When you walked into that throne room months ago, I thought you were just some desperate half-breed trying to manipulate me. I never imagined you'd become everything. My savior, my mate, my Luna, the mother of my child, the other half of my soul. I love you too, Celeste whispers. My Alpha King. He kisses her under the moonlight, and somewhere in the distance wolves howl at the sky. A sound of contentment, of pack solidarity, of a future no longer shadowed by curses or prejudice, but bright with possibility. Celeste thinks back to that terrified girl who crept through the castle at night, stealing moments in the forbidden archives, searching desperately for a way to save a king who didn't even know her name. She thinks about the contract she signed, fully expecting to walk away after giving him an heir, never expecting to stay, to be claimed, to find her home in the very place she'd planned to escape. Fate, it seems, had other plans. She went from invisible servant to Luna, from unwanted half-breed to cherished mate, from nobody to the woman who saved Shadowmere and gave it a new future. And as Dane sweeps her into his arms and carries her inside, passing by the cradle where their son sleeps peacefully, she knows with absolute certainty that this is where she was always meant to be. Not invisible, not running, not hiding, but here, home, loved, exactly as she is, forever.